Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel for another Hot Toys Secret Base figure preview video. Now before we begin, I want to say a huge thank you to Ryan Kirkwood for going out in person and gathering up, snapping all of these images. Say a huge thank you to him down in the comments below, because without Ryan, this series literally wouldn't be possible. Also, if you are looking to pre-order your very own Dark Trooper, or maybe multiples thereof, they are going up for pre-order right now with toyswonderland.com. Link for that is in the description below. Now, there have been a few pictures that were snapped today at Secret Base by a couple of other people. And I don't mean to be rude, but people have jumped to conclusions. As collectors, we always tend to do that on the first in-hand pictures of the Dark Troopers on display at Secret Base, and they looked pretty darn average. Some people were saying that they looked like cheap Hasbro toys. Just when you see those initial pictures, always have in the back of your mind that there will be better, high quality pictures with some nice adjustments and whatnot to get it looking like how it does in real life. If you go ahead and just snap a picture of a super glossy black figure like a Death Trooper, or say for instance Darth Vader, with your flash on and super overexposed, it's going to look terrible. It's going to show all the scratches and all the greasiness, fingerprints and dirt and grime all over the figure. It's going to make it look incredibly cheap. And that's exactly what happened, and people freaked out. Don't worry, it doesn't look bad in person, as you're about to see. Now, you saw he comes with a couple of hands. It doesn't appear like they're going to be articulated. That's not ideal. Honestly, I would have loved some articulated hands with me Dark Troopers, but with the RoboCop figure, you did have a hell of a tough time getting him to hold the gun, so I guess it's a bit of a catch-22. Sculpted hands as well as articulated finger hands would have been nice, but I understand why they didn't do it. Now, a couple of people have claimed that there is some reuse here from previous droid-style figures such as K2SO. Absolutely untrue. This is entirely new sculpt. There is nothing reused whatsoever. That's why I'm so incredibly surprised that we are getting the Dark Troopers. It's entirely new, which means it's incredibly expensive for them to go ahead and produce this mold. Does Hot Toys know something as to maybe in the future we'll be seeing more Dark Troopers, therefore they'll be able to reissue? Who knows, but potentially, because as I said, it's super pricey to go ahead and create all new engineering for this Dark Trooper figure. And boy, this thing is chock full of detail. It looks absolutely insane. More on that in just a second, but I do love the fact that there are actually hollow joints here. For those of you who don't know, if you haven't seen the Disney gallery behind the scenes stuff for season 2 of The Mandalorian, pause this, go ahead and watch that, because they explain a lot about the creation of the Dark Troopers. Yes, the initial designs were based off their appearance in the ancient Dark Forces video game. They were also in the original Battlefront 2, but these are completely new in terms of the design. They are based off them, but they're not exactly the same. They actually had physical suits that actors did wear on set to give the Dark Troopers a bit of a more realistic presence. I love that. That means that there was an actual physical thing for Hot Toys to base this figure on. Obviously, the hollow joints weren't there in reality. They were just green screened and rotoscoped out, however they decided to do that. But they also mentioned how the surface of the Dark Troopers were designed in a way to mimic that of Darth Vader's helmet. The dome on Darth Vader's helmet is super glossy, but that means that it picks up the fine dirt and scratches and greasiness. It gives it a realistic look. So they took that texture displacement map and they modified it and put it all over the Dark Troopers in post to give them a more realistic look, because the super glossy look on camera kind of reads as a little bit fake. It has that uncanny valley sort of effect. Therefore, they put the displacement maps, made them a little bit dirty, which means all of that I just went on about, which means in figure format, when they do look a little bit greasy, a little bit grimy, you can see the slight surface abrasions there, it just makes it look even more realistic and more accurate to the show itself. Is that a cop-out me saying it? Potentially, but it's something they specifically mentioned on the Disney Gallery behind the scenes show or clip, so therefore I thought it might be worth mentioning. I do like this utility belt kind of thing around the front there. You can see a couple of pouches. It does look like they actually do have snap fastener buttons. Obviously they weren't open, but it's an interesting detail. You can also see a bunch of tech and pistons and mechanical workings on the underside there. Honestly, I'd love to see a Dark Trooper in the process of being built. That would be fantastic. Now, you can also see a couple of red LEDs on the front. I do like the fact that there is an LED light up function. More on that in just a second when we get to the head, but I'm not exactly sure that the chest ones needed to be LED. I think just painted red would have been perfectly fine for me, but those of you out there who love the LED functions, these guys will be able to light up. One of the most interesting designs for me personally about the Dark Troopers are those big honkin' shoulder pads. They make them super broad and super beefy and super imposing. Something that I noticed they were doing throughout The Mandalorian was they kept downplaying stormtroopers. They kept telling us how bad they were over and over again throughout multiple episodes. And I honestly think they were doing that to build up the badassness, if that's even a word, for the Dark Troopers. When you saw them on screen, they had their own dubstep style theme music in the background. Honestly, I loved it. People have said these are like space Terminators, and I can definitely see that, but honestly, these things have a presence. I personally will be picking up at least 2, maybe even 4. I'll have to wait and see when they come out, how many I'll decide to pick up, but I'm leaning towards 2 for now. As I said, more may come down the line. Now, it does come with 1 weapon. It's pretty slim in terms of the accessories department. You get 1 blaster and a couple of hands, but that's all they really interacted with anyway, so I think that makes perfect sense for the Dark Troopers here. The real bang for your buck, if you will, is in the detail, because there is so much of it. Not necessarily in the paint applications, mind you, it's more in the sculpt, but this thing is also painted marvelously. There's gunmetal, there's silver, there's darker oil stain sort of patterns in those circular joints. Then there's this carbon fiber effect on even more pieces, so it's not just a straight up glossy black thing. You can even see on the bicep there, and on the forearm, there is this dark sort of grey gunmetal section. I love that it's not just a flat, boring design. They had to make it look punchy on camera, give it a little bit more oomph, and that's exactly what they've done in figure format. Honestly, it translates really well. Now, a lot of people are saying, why are we getting Dark Troopers and not a Cara Dune? Or why are we getting Dark Troopers and not an Armorer? I'm with you, that makes total sense. A Bo-Katan would be fantastic as well, and Ahsoka Tano from The Mandalorian. I hope that stuff is coming. I really do. But if it doesn't, they have time. Season 3 may come around. Ahsoka's getting her own show. Book of Boba Fett is coming out. I'm sure those characters will have their time. For now, that is focusing on the stuff that's kind of exclusive to The Mandalorian. Now, here you can see the blaster. It's a big piece. It's beefy, and I love the way it looks. It's a super interesting design. I don't exactly know what blaster this is based off. If you want to let me know down in the comments below, that would be fantastic. It's a really nice, unique sculpt for a blaster. I wouldn't be surprised if it's magnetic and attaches to the thigh just as it did in the show. They were holstered most of the time as they were punching away at various doors and whatnot, but it looks like a souped up version of the E22 with a bigger scope and a bigger barrel down the front there. It looks awesome. I love that this is designed for the blaster. Hopefully we do see these guys again, and hopefully we get to see them kick even more butt. But like Moff Gideon said, you had trouble with just 1 Dark Trooper. I'd love to see Mando and a couple of other Mandalorians face off against a squad of these guys, because I think they would have a little bit of trouble. Now you can see we're leading up to the helmet. I love the design of the helmet. It's super angular. You can see a big honkin' Vader-style mouthplate and those red eyes. They are just so piercing. And that's saying something because they're not lit up. Yeah, the lights aren't even on here. So I'm really liking that. The fact that you can have the red eyes being super vibrant and imposing, and they can glare at your other figures without having to have the LEDs on at all. I love that. Finally! Hot Toys, you've cracked the code. We don't always put the LEDs on. Do this on more figures. I'm talking about K2SO. when the lights aren't on, he literally looks like he's been deactivated. Not true with these guys though, it literally looks like his eyes are lit up, and I love that. Hopefully they keep this going when we eventually get a C-3PO down the line and even more characters with light up eyes. I would love to see this on Iron Man figures as well. Have the eyes be a little bit more white, put a bit of a blue edge around there, so it actually looks like he's lit up without having to use the LEDs, because not all of us do that. We don't want corrosion inside the battery compartments of our figures, therefore we leave the batteries out. So I think it kind of does make sense, and thank goodness they've done it here for these Dark Troopers, because if you didn't have that red, honestly, they would just look incredibly boring. They'd look dead, just standing there on the shelf. They've shown that they can do it with the recent release of the Death Troopers from the Mandalorian. The visor was a super vibrant green compared to the older versions, which were a lot darker, and they did kind of look a little bit lifeless. So they've realized that, hey, we want these things to look good all the time, not just with the lights on. So let's do that. And that's exactly what they've done. And I'm super happy about it. It looks really good and it's panned out. Hopefully, as I said, we see more and more of that as Hot Toys does start making more Star Wars droid-style characters. As I said, C-3PO with some nicely painted, illuminated eyes wouldn't go astray. Now, if you are looking to pick up 1, 2, 3, 4, or heck, even 6 Dark Troopers, they are going up for pre-order right now with toyswonderland.com. Link is in the description below. Also, check out the link to 6 Scale Network, the awesome Facebook group. Come along, chat figures, share photos of your collection, and of course, see what's coming up next on the channel. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video.